power of the sun.
In the palm of your hand.
When Marvel Legends Doc Ock got announced, it felt like something that was years in the making. It's been now nearly 20 years since the first appearance of him in Spider-Man 2, and 2 years since he came back in No Way Home. I was really excited, and it was just, I couldn't really describe it, especially the pictures looked really good. But then I realised that Hasbro were making it and that they'd probably messed something up. But they didn't. And when I saw that price, you could bet that I was happy. So, starting off with the box, you can see it's from Spider-Man 2, which was a very weird choice, but a welcome one nonetheless. Obviously, at the time, it caught me a bit off guard, but then I realised that it would have been because of them not being able to use Alfred Molina's likeness on No Way Home merchandise, so they had to change it to Spider-Man 2. But it's a very welcome change nonetheless, and the box just looks amazing. It's very nostalgic, and it's really nice to see some Spider-Man 2 merch. After freeing Doc Ock from his cardboard prison, here you can see the full figure with all the accessories, and he comes with one pair of interchangeable hands, which are the open hands, and then a load of claws, which consist of 2 flat claws, 2 sort of pre-posed claws, and then 2 articulated claws. And then for some reason I thought the tentacles wouldn't be attached to his back and you'd have to put them in. I'm very happy that's not the case, otherwise that would have been a big problem because I think the tentacles would have come off really easily. But as you can see, the tentacles are just attached to the back of the figure and can't be removed. So taking a closer look at the figure, as we can see, the Alfred Molina head sculpt looks really, really good. I think they got the likeness spot on, and I think the glasses look really good as well. Same with the hair, nice bit of texturing and stuff. And coming down to the torso, as you can see, we've got his black top, the brown undercoat, and then the green overcoat, some buttons, some crease kind of molding there, collar, I think some pockets on the side, yeah. Just general jacket sculpting, which looks really good as well. Obviously it's No Way Home design, because this is what it looks like in No Way Home. I don't think he's wearing this in Spider-Man 2, this black sort of top, or it looks a little bit different. But we've got the stomach harness as well. Nice little bit of detailing in there. And then the legs are kind of plain, but that's what I'd really expect for a Doc Ock figure. I think you don't really need too much out of him in terms of detailing, sort of the basic clothes and whatnot. But the main sort of point of detailing needs to be the tentacles. So coming to the back of the figure, you can see a very nice wiry and robotic look to each tentacle, which is painted a gunmetal grey, and I think overall they've done a really good job with it. And a really nice attention to detail is that where they come out of his back, there's rips in the coat which have been moulded in, so I think that's a really nice attention to detail. And coming to the front and looking at the claws, you can see that the claws have a few shades of silver and grey in there to add a bit more of a metallic look to the claws. And then you've got the red in the middle. I think the red is a bit dark. I think I would have preferred it to be a bit lighter or even translucent. Obviously in the movies the red is actually a light, it's not actually just like a colour, so it would have been nice to have maybe that light effect, but nonetheless I still think they look really good. And I think they've got the tentacles pretty much spot on. And it's a good thing that they have, because obviously in those movies the tentacles have like a personality of their own, and it is the main draw of this figure, because without the tentacles, it's just a normal Marvel Legends body and there's nothing else really that special about it except for maybe the head sculpt. So yeah, I think they've done a really, really good job with the tentacles. Before we move on to articulation, I just want to quickly talk about how this figure is going to stand with its tentacles. So as you can see here, you're going to have to use the 2 flat claws and then put them on the bottom 2 tentacles and kind of stand them up like their legs, maybe one in front of the other for better balance if you're struggling. But sometimes you can get them next to each other depending on how the tentacles are bent. As you can see here, this is the best way that I've got it to stand so far. I am going to mess around with it more after the review, and I have seen people get it in some different stances, but yeah, this is the most level that I could get it. And sometimes it is going to fall down, you're just going to have to be patient with it. And also remember that the wiring is very hard, so I've been using 2 hands. Also recommend maybe heating it up slightly just so it moves a little bit easier, but don't want to heat up too much because then it'll lose the sturdiness of the wire. I think the way that they've handled the wire inside the tentacles is really well, because it gives you a great amount of posability while also keeping that sturdiness so he can stand. But yeah, I think they've done a really good job on that. So moving on to articulation, I've had to move the tentacles to the back because it kept on getting in the way. Head goes up about that far. Down about that far, which is okay amount. Side to side. Nice tilting. No neck movement, which is fine. Torso, there's a diaphragm joint hidden under this, which is kind of weird. I would have just expected maybe just basic waist rotation, but they've decided to put diaphragm joint in there, which means you get a bit of a crunch, and then you can also get a bit of a crunch back, but it's very hard to do because the coat just gets in the way, and then the tentacles get in the way, so it's very hard to do. But then you can also twist it to act as like a waist swivel. That click isn't very nice, though, I'll be real with you. It's a bit too tight, but it's fine. You're not really going to be getting Doc Ock into a lot of positions where you need him to be super articulated anyway, so basic articulation will do with this figure. And arm comes up about that far, back down again. The coat really does hinder a lot, or just makes a lot of things harder to move, but there was no other way that they could have done this which would have been better. It is quite soft as well, so it does move out the way pretty easily. It could have been the hard shell coat that they use on like Blade and Spider-Man Noir, which would have been a very big problem. But arms also get about that much range. I don't know if that's double jointed elbow or a single joint. This goes very far because it looks like a single joint, but it moves like a double joint, so I'm not sure. Bicep swivel, then wrist swivel, and then hinge on the wrists as well. Moving down to the legs. Kicks forward about that far, back about that far, again restricted by the coat, but you can still kind of tell. And then a thigh swivel. We've got double jointed knees. There we go, double jointed knees. Then we've got basic foot articulation, goes back, comes quite forward. You're going to need this when you balance. It doesn't come forward enough, I'd say. The mold of the trousers kind of makes it catch, which is a slight problem because when he's standing without the tentacles, you need him to balance well. But then he also has ankle rocket pivot as well. So yeah, pretty decent articulation. Let's get into a comparison. Just to show how these articulated claws work, as you can see, they move on the hinges and they can go from flat to spiky as well. So I think that's pretty cool, and I think it's very helpful, especially for when you need to hold things with them. And here it is, a sight that Marvel Legends fans and action figure fans in general have been waiting years for. A Marvel Legends Doc Ock next to a Marvel Legends Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. And this is a very nostalgic sight for me right now. I know this Tobey Maguire Spider-Man gets a lot of hate, maybe because of its alternative, the SH Figuarts one, which I do have, but it's currently out on commission, so I can't use it for this review, unfortunately. But I will be using it in my photography in the future. But because that one is so good, I think this one does get a lot of unnecessary hate. There is some problems with it, but I still think it's a really good figure. And I think it's a good pocket figure to mess around with. And it is just a bit surreal having a Marvel Legends Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and Alfred Molina Doc Ock standing next to each other. So my final thoughts on this Doc Ock figure. I think that Hasbro pretty much nailed it. I don't really think that there's anything that I would personally add as recommendation. Maybe a few more accessories possibly, but for the price point of around £36, I can't really complain too much. So I think overall I'm going to leave it with a score of, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10, because I think that they've done most of the things really well. I think the only thing that I could possibly say is that they could have included more accessories, like I said before. Maybe even like a removable hat or like some spikes for the claws, like in Spider-Man 2, especially with it being in a Spider-Man 2 box. But besides from that, I can't really complain. The basic Marvel Legends body is maybe something to complain about, but I feel like it does work for Doc Ock, especially because they've got that posability and that sturdiness in the tentacles. So that's going to really do everything you want it to do. And yeah, pretty much I can't wait to pose this with some of the other Spider-Man figures. I can't wait to get my SH Figuarts Tobey back so I can take some pictures of those two together. And when I do, that'll probably be up on my TikTok and Instagram, which link in the description if you want to go and check it out. But that's pretty much it for this review. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like. It does help YouTube push the video out. Don't forget to subscribe because we're trying to build a community. And don't forget to share with all your family and friends. And I'll see you in the next video.